Hey everybody, hope you're doing good. We're reading Martin Heidegger's Metaphysics. It's a German philosopher. We're on paragraph 121, page 175. Only when we grasp that the need to use violence in language, in understanding, in constructing, in building, co-creates, and this always means bring forth. Okay, violence in language, and in understanding, in constructing, building, and co-creation. Wow. The violent act of laying out the past into the beings that envelop humanity in their sway. Well, if you think about it, on an interesting note, giving birth is pretty violent, right? Only then do we understand the uncanniness of all that does violence. For when human beings are everywhere underway in this sense, their having no way out does not arise in the external sense that they run up against outward restrictions and cannot get any farther. What is he saying? So if you don't have a way out, it's usually not by something external, right? Think about that. Sounds a lot like Nietzsche's Übermensch. They run up against outward restrictions and cannot get any farther. Somehow or another they precisely can always go farther into the end and so forth. They can always go forth, he argues. Their not having a way out consists instead in the fact that they are continually thrown back on the paths they themselves have laid out. So you're thrown back on your own path, right? They get bogged down in their routes, get stuck in ruts, and by getting stuck they draw in the circle of their world. Now this sounds a lot like what Confucius would say. Very much what Confucius said. Get enmeshed in seeming. Remember, you get enmeshed in seeming instead of actually being, right? Appearing but not apparent. And thus shut themselves out of being. So shutting yourself out of being. In this way, they turn around and around within their own circle. They can turn aside everything that threatens this circuit. They can turn every skill to the place where it is best applied. So turning your skills, the violence doing which originally creates the routes, begets in itself its own unessence. Ooh, beginning one's own unessence, you see that? The versatility of many twists and turns, which in itself is the lack of ways out. So much so that it shuts itself out from the way of meditation on the seeming within which it drifts around. So shuts itself out from the way. There is only one thing against which all violence doing directly shatters. Wait a minute, let's see what it is. Only one thing against which all violence doing directly shatters. That is death. Okay, yeah, I was about to say, yeah. You almost got me there. I was expecting him to say that, but I hope you got it too in your head. It is an end beyond all completion, a limit beyond all limits. So death is a limit beyond all limit, huh? Here there is no breaking forth and breaking up, no capturing and subjugating, but this uncanniness which drives us simply and suddenly out and away from everything homely once and for all. Yes, it does. You're out, right? Poof. No return. No back to the cozy bed. It is not some special event that we should also mention among other events, because in the end, it too is going to occur. The human being has no way out in the face of death, not only when it is time to die, but constantly and essentially. And so far as the human is, each stands in the no exit of death. Each stands in the no exit of death. What a way to say it, right? You're standing in the no exit. Thus, being here is the happening of uncanniness itself. So life is uncanniness in and of itself, essentially. The happening of uncanniness must for us be grounded inceptively as being here. With the naming of this violent and uncanny thing, the poetic projection of being and of the human essence sets its own limits for itself. So that sounds a lot what people say, like, you set your own limits, right? You can go above and beyond, but you're restricting yourself. It's not the outer world, it's you. Now, that might be hard for a lot of people to realize because now it's victim culture, right? I'm a victim. I want communism. You owe me. You have privilege. Everybody, give money to me. It's a mess. We have a big victim culture. That's all we have right now is you have privilege. You have straight privilege. You have this privilege. Blah. Here, if you notice, Heidegger is like, no, 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 no. You limit yourself, right? Very German, right? Very German. For the second antistrophe does not go on to name still other powers, but instead brings together everything that has been said so far into its inner unity. The concluding strophe takes back the whole into its basic trait, but according to what we stressed in our first phase, the basic trait of what is authentically to be said, the denonaton. I can't remember if it's the Greek word or the German word. Deinotation. It's important for terms, okay? Remember your terms. Consists precisely in the unitary, reciprocal relation between the two senses of denon. Accordingly, the concluding strophe names something threefold in its summarization. 1. Violence, the violent within which the doing of the violence doer moves, is the whole sphere of machination to machinon, that is delivered over to him. Okay, so violence, the violent within which the doing of the violent doer moves. Yes, you're moving in this act of violence, right? Just like you're in that sphere of movement, of machining, like a machination, right? Very machinized, kind of like okay, I get it. I can see where he's taking us. We are not taking the word machination in a derogatory sense. I didn't think he was, yeah. With this word, we are thinking something essential that announces itself to us. Oh, yes, okay, so something essential that announces itself to us. Violence announces itself, right? Pretty in your face. It's like, I'm here, violence is happening, right? Remember, violence, he also said in words and other deeds as well. Itself to us in the Greek word techne. Techne means neither art nor skill, and it means nothing like technology in the modern sense. We translate techne as knowing, but this requires application. Knowing here does not mean the result of mere observations about something present at hand that was formerly unfamiliar. It's definitely a more deeper definition of knowing then, right? Such items of information are always just accessory, even if they are indispensable to knowing. Knowing, in the genuine sense of techne, means initially, okay, so that word is spelled Techne. There's a line above the E. I could pronounce that wrong. I don't speak Greek. And constantly looking out beyond what, in each case, is directly present at hand. So, knowing is constantly looking beyond what is in your face, essentially. In different ways, and on different routes, and in different domains, this being out beyond sets to work in advance that which first gives to what is already present at hand its relative justification, its possible determinateness, oh, really? And thus its limit. Well, that's quite a stretch. To being out beyond, work in advance, that which first gives, was present relative justification. Knowing is the ability to set being into work as something that in each case is in such and such a way. Okay. Knowing, it's an ability. And it's an ability because you're able to set being into something that can work. And when it works, it then is. And then when it is in such and such a way. Got it. For this reason, the Greeks call authentic artwork an art techne in the emphatic sense, because art is what most immediately brings being, that is, the appearing that stands there in itself. Okay, I can agree with that. Yes, definitely. Art, it stands there on its own. Yeah, I can hear that. To stand in something present in the work. The work of art is work not primarily because it is worked, made, but because it puts being to work into a being. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm going to put art annotation next to that. Yes, when you have a piece of art, it is what it is. It's working in you. It's being. It's its own thing. There's something being transmitted when you see this beautiful work of art, right? Regardless of maybe your taste in art. And it's not a work because it's been worked and because it's made. It's because of it puts being to work. Right? I get it. It's very interesting.